what do you tell a person who is overweight and takes supplements, but is not certain whether or not they're really absorbing those micronutrients, and is kind of becoming impatient with themselves because they are overweight, trying to get the weight off, but may purchase supplements or even eat natural foods, but they're not certain they're getting it because fat sequester the nutrients.
I don't think that's the problem. I think you or that person is misinformed. You're not going to lose weight because of the supplements you take. So the initial part of your question.
The supplement is for nutrition. It's like
you have your emphasis on the wrong syllable.
But is the supplement is like for
you don't supplement for nutrition. You eat for nutrition.
Okay.
The supplements do not have anything to do with your weight loss. Your supplements are not going to make you lose weight. You have to eat, and if you're not going to eat for the nutrients you need, so when you eat for the nutrients you need, and you get rid of the junk food, you're going to desire the right amount of calories. So your whole emphasis is that you can't eat for good nutrition, you can't supplement for good nutrition. It's true that if you eat ideally, there might be certain nutrients you might be low in, and you want to idealize those for maximum longevity, like K2, zinc, vitamin D, and DHA. But that's not going to facilitate your weight loss and make you lose weight more effectively or not less effectively. The supplements have nothing to do with your body weight. Your body weight is the quality of your diet alone. And then, of course, if you eat healthy enough, you feel better, you feel like being active, and eventually your taste buds change. So I don't think you know what a healthy diet is yet. I think you really have to do more study and reading, and I strongly recommend you read one of my books, and you might as well just read the latest one, which I mentioned, Eat for Life, because it's obviously the most updated. So why don't you start by reading the book there, and then we can talk more about that, because I don't think you're headed in the right direction here with your question.
Great. Next question we have is, let's see, Marcus.
Hello, Dr. Fuhrman.
Hi.
I have a question. The brother of a friend of mine was diagnosed the beginning of this year with a PSC, primary sclerosing cholangitis. And they had a look and it turned tumorous, and it resulted in an operation to bypass the small intestines. And the diagnosis was, or the prognosis is not very good. Would you have any recommendations, any experience here?
Well, first of all, in general, I mean, certainly we make adjustments to certain dietary portfolios for various conditions. For example, there are some people with ulcerative colitis that can't eat raw vegetables. There are some people with certain allergies. There are people with certain digestive impairments. There are certain people who don't produce certain amino acids. You have to make adjustments for the individual. But generally speaking, the dietary portfolio that maximizes human lifespan is the same dietary portfolio that maximizes reversal of diseases. However, this disease that you're describing, there's could you mute people when there's so much background noise.
But anyway, sorry about that. That's just John. It's a problem. Let me get that straightened out. Sorry about that.
Thank you. The disease that you're describing could have been reversed in its earlier stages with excellent nutrition. I have had experience working with that, but it sounds like this person got to a later stage of the disease process where he's scarred, damaged, and may even have carcinogenic tumors that have formed in his liver or biliary tree. So I'm not sure that nutrition could intercede and bring him back to normal at this late stage. He might be too late. So I can't really comment on that, but I can say that in the earlier stages, there would have been hope for him.
All right, so
let's go on to the next question.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm sorry about that. Yes. Hang on, I'm still trying to get in touch with John to mute himself.
But I probably can mute everybody here. Let me see if I can mute everybody. Well, then I'll mute you. No, I better not.
Let me. The next person up is Sophie. Let me unmute you, Sophie, and if you could ask your question. Thank you.
Great, looks good.
Let me see if I
can try going forward with your.
Thank you for taking my question. Please, I would like to know if there is a possibility to have a knee synovial inflammation reversed through diet. I
couldn't hear the question. To have what reversed?
Knee synovial inflammation. inflammation of the synovial liquid in the knee.
Oh, the knee.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the diet's going to play a role, but there's a lot of other factors contributing to that besides just diet alone. So I don't know enough about your anatomy or your injury to your knee or what kind of. So I really can't say if this can be adequately reversed with diet alone. So I prefer if you ask me a question that has to do with it's hard to, without knowing a person's complete medical history and doing, knowing the damage to or your health, it's hard to know if,
I have no mechanical problem or injury, but the doctor suspects that it might be because of the toffee I have. It might be due to gout too.
Yeah. I can't answer that question in this forum. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Next question is from David. David, I'm going to unmute you if you could ask your question.
Thank you so much. I was curious, Dr. Fuhrman, if you would recommend that before we eat grains, nuts, or seeds, that we should always soak them. And then my other question is, I was curious to know if you had any thoughts of getting vitamin D from a vegan source or a non-vegan source. Thank you.
Grains and nuts and seeds can be eaten soaked or non-soaked. They're both excellent foods. But grains, of course, I'm recommending that they mostly be eaten in water-cooked form as opposed to grinding them into a flour and baking them into a cake or a cookie or a cracker. I'm saying when you bake the finely ground grain, you cause damage to the nutrients, you cause acrylamide formation. So that whole grains like amaranth and teff and quinoa and kamut and buckwheat and these grains that are relatively healthy foods are better soaked in water and cooked in a water base, made into a cereal or sprouted and coarsely ground and made into a bread that way. So in other words, I am suggesting the way they're prepared makes a difference. So I'm agreeing with you to a degree. They don't have to be sprouted, but they're better off soaked in water and boiled and cooked in water as opposed to dried and ground into a flour. It's the grinding them into a flour that increases their glycemic response of the grain. So like you can get a whole wheat pastry flour, but it's still been so finely ground to a pastry flour that's not the same as eating a whole wheat or a whole wheat berry that's been soaked in water and cooked into a cereal, into a porridge or something. Nuts and seeds can be eaten non-sprouted or non-soaked. Either way is healthy. The more you sprout something, you change its nutritional profile. And the nutritional profile is different. It increases the nutritional variety, but it doesn't make the unsprouted version unhealthy. And we have a lot of data and science to show that people who eat nuts and seeds have longer lifespans. They don't have to sprout them. As far as vitamin D, there is vitamin D that is available in the last decade in vegan form. So D3 is the preferred dose. So whether you're getting D3 from an animal source, it used to be made from lanolin, from the wool of sheep, but now they can make it from a vegan source, which is preferred. I'm not saying it's biologically preferred. It's just preferred because you don't have to, use sheep to get the lanolin, to get the vitamin D3 from. So D3 is the preferred form, and it's available today in vegan forms. And I don't think people should take huge amounts of vitamin D either. I think that you shouldn't be pushing your level above 50 with supplements. The ideal level is between 30 and 50. But if your level comes back 26, 27, 28, and you're already taking 2,000 of D, I don't even think you should increase the dose because that's just a level where your body likes to run. So I don't think you should be overly concerned about that. But if you have levels that are running, 20 or below, then it's more important to definitely increase the dose of your supplement, or 25 or below. You should probably take more. Okay, thanks for the question.
The next one up is Kim. Kim, I'm going to unmute you. If you could please ask your question.
Hi, Dr. Fuhrman. I love your work. It's an honor to talk to you. I'm an athlete, and I've been struggling with a slightly elevated A1C at 5.8 for the past few years. So I went on I started following the Mastering Diabetes program, which, whole foods, plant-based diet, and relatively low fat. So I get anywhere between 15 to 20 grams of fat a day from nuts and seeds. But for the past, and I should also tell you my BMI is 21, so it's relatively healthy. But for the past few months, I've suddenly started getting like signs of inflammation in my body, like my hands, almost like I'm getting too low amounts of fat. So I was just wondering, is 15 to 20 grams too low in your opinion, or what do you generally think?
I think it's too low a level of fat. It could lead to, and you're not going to burn calories as efficiently, and it leads to digestive impairment, and including bloating, because you're going to be putting too much fiber in. You would need some more concentrated calories. So I'm thinking that if you increased your fat just a little bit, checked your omega-3 fatty acid index, and also you perhaps dropped your body weight to a BMI of 20.5 instead of 21, the combination of eating more fat with lower body fat might have you be a little healthier and feel better, and lower and keep your hemoglobin. So the body fat is more important. So the thing that I would be discerning if I was advising you is, what's your body fat percent as a woman at the 21 BMI? Is your body fat percent 22% on your body fat measurement, or is it 27%? If it's 27%, you still have too much body fat. You need to get thinner. So I'm not sure if the 21 BMI is an accurate enough indicator of what your weight should be.
Okay. No, my body fat is, I think it's about 19%. Because again,
if your body fat is 19%, then you don't need to lose weight. Then the 21 BMI is sufficient. So then probably I'm saying, without increasing your calories, you should probably reduce some carbohydrates and increase your nut and seed consumption accordingly. So your diet stays isocaloric at the same amount of calories, but a little higher fat percent. Just a little bit can make a difference for you.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, the next one up is Stephen. Stephen, I'm going to unmute you if you could ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. I've been watching you for a long time, and I'm just extremely impressed with your life's work and mindset. I'm 67. My BMI is 22. All my numbers are good, except, and I do a Nutritarian diet. I'm into G-bombs. I'm into that bean and veggie stew and the salad. I just think you're right. All my numbers are good, except C-reactive proteins around 2.2 and homocysteines around 12, even though I take B12 and the status is good.
That's good enough. Don't be concerned about that. It's not, you don't need to get your CRP 2.2 and your homocysteine 12 is good enough. If you're eating right, weight is good, your fat is good. That's just where you run. Don't be concerned about that.
Okay.
So there's a range of normal, and you're still, being lower is not better here.
Okay.
Don't worry, you're doing great.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Our next question we have is Carrie. Carrie, what's your question?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Fuhrman. I'm wondering if you had some suggestions for my family. I myself am diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and have agreed to take one of the newer medications, the B-cell depleters. I'm seeing a lot of success with the G-bombs and following your dietary advice. I don't want to be on this medication forever. And I'm wondering if you had any suggestions how to sort of, as your health and things normalize through excellent nutrition, how to work with a doctor to sort of stop taking these 6-month infusions was question number one. And then also my son, I have a teenage son who's on the autism spectrum who started having seizures in puberty. And we're working with nutrition and things like that. But he just really loves to eat pasta and carby things. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts to help our family with those concerns.
Well, with your son, I recommend, there's a lot of great bean pastas today. There's soybean, there's edamame, there's lentil pastas, there's chickpea pastas, almond pastas. So there's certainly pastas so he doesn't overwhelm the diet. There's even whole grain pastas and whole wheat pastas. But I think that you shouldn't, but you don't want to give him all one food. So if he's really in the autistic spectrum, wants to eat a lot of pasta, then try to give him pastas with a variety of pastas that are not give him white flour pastas. And he won't even he'll adapt once you put tomato sauce and peas and onions in there and other flavorings and, Thai curry thing, can make this taste great. And so I think some of these healthier pastas taste just as good, and he's not going to even care. And I've had like more than 50 people recover from MS. I put about 8 cases of MS in my book, Eat for Life, when I published that book, a few years back. So I do think that that coming off your meds could happen appropriately. We want people to follow this program strictly for at least 6 months before you start to lower your dose of medications usually. And you can, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has doctors all over the country that are less medication oriented. And I have my forums at the website where you can ask me questions and I can give you advice to take back to your doctor based on your your measurements of your condition when it's time to how to lower and taper to deprescribe. Deprescribing medication or unprescribing medication is a specialty in itself that a lot of us lifestyle physicians experience with people getting well have mastered this concept, especially with diabetics and high blood pressure. But with people with an autoimmune disease, it's a little more rare of a specialty because not many people have a lot of experience taking people off these more seriously dangerous drugs that could flare up their condition if you take them away too quickly. So doing this right, doing the diet right, and cutting back on the drugs slowly is the answer. And because eventually we can expect you to do very well.